Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Rise of the Womb Oracle Summit. I am your host, Athena Sai. I am an oracle and a wisdom keeper of the Blue Rose. And today I am so excited to have my dear friend, Atlantis Wolf, here with us. Hello, hello. And if you guys are not familiar with her, you should be, for one. Also, Atlantis is a shaman. She's a firekeeper, a licensed medical massage therapist. After a career in civil engineering and financial services, she spent 12 years helping over 3,000 clients confront their physical and metaphysical pain. From chronic muscle tightness to trauma and unreleased emotional energy, Atlantis takes an intuitive approach to healing. Part of her secret is connecting to the spiritual realms using breath work, drumming, and fire ceremonies. Atlantis is also known as the Dragon Medicine Woman. Welcome.
Thanks, Athena. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm super excited for this. And as I was kind of tuning in for the energies, I think what I want to start off with right off the bat is, when did you first really hear the call of the sacred drum?
Well, when I hear the sacred drum, I think of course, the heartbeat of the earth, and I think about being in the womb and hearing the mother's heartbeat. And it's that feeling of being completely encased and surrounded in not only water, so you're not only in that creative primal element, the first element, the birthing element, the gestating element, where all the dreams begin, but also you can hear that whoosh and that rushing and that roar, and it's comforting because it's constant. You have your mother's heartbeat that is constant while you're dreaming, while you're gestating. It's feeding every experience that you're having as you grow bigger and bigger, and you're able to sustain that dream, whatever dream you have, whatever dream you want to birth into the world, and you hear it. You hear it, you feel it, because we are 70% water. When you hear that heartbeat, it really resonates with 70% of your body, and there's no thinking involved. It's something that is just automatically soothing, comforting, and grounding. And so a lot of times when I talk about where is your intuition in your body, the first thing that I say is put your hand on your heart and wait. Just breathe and wait until you can feel your heartbeat. And if you can feel your heartbeat, give yourself a few more breaths and you can usually hear it. And because you're moving all of your love and attention to your own heartbeat, it will soothe you, it will soothe your nervous system, and you will have not only the connection with the heartbeat of Mother Earth, which we can also get in tune to, which is because we are made of earth. She is us and we are her. Earth is our body, body is our earth. We can also feel that groundedness, and it reverberates our heartbeat, her heartbeat, and it comes in. And that's the first step to finding your own intuition, is get into your own heart and remember where you were dreamed into being.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And I am feeling all of it. I just want to move. I just want to sway with that sacred heartbeat. That is so beautiful. And so as I'm kind of feeling into the sway, I know that you also do ecstatic dance. So how do you weave the sacred sacred sexuality and that sacred dance? How do you weave that together with the work that you do?
The cacao and ecstatic dance that I do are together, and I do them after breath work. So the shamanic breath work is about shifting energy, not only getting you back into your body, but also finding what needs to be released out of your body. So after you cry or scream or breathe or move or shift, and you're taking all those emotional balls and releasing them back so that they can come back to you as pure love, you have this piece missing inside of you. There's all this stuff that was there. And emotions are energy. So if you think of them as balls of energy, we're living with those emotions and they're trapped in our body if they were not expressed. If you have an emotion, which is just a frequency created by any of your organs, they all create different frequencies, and you express it, it doesn't stay in your physical body. If you did not express it, it's still there. You created that vibration, but you held it in, you held it back, you held it down because maybe it wasn't safe to express it. Maybe it wasn't a good time. Maybe you didn't have the right words or you didn't have the right method. You wanted to scream, but you were in a situation where it was just impossible. Or it would be so socially damaging that something inside your mind said, I can't do it. But after that's released, it's a perfect time to fill in with cacao because that is a heart opener. So again, moving you back into your heart. And then the dance is actually the way that I do it. It's a silent ceremony. You're not interacting with other people. You're not saying, let's dance together. Let's feel this together. Because we don't have a lot of opportunity just to feel our own body. And now that we shifted the energy and there's those things missing, it's good to do ecstatic dance, which is basically where you close your eyes, you get silent, and you let the music move you. And so the way that comes into sacred sexuality is because that force and that rhythm and that flow state are coming into your body through your womb, through the part of your chakras that are primal. To dance is primal. To move our bodies is primal. It's our medicine. It's how when something doesn't feel right, you feel like, I have to move my shoulder, I have to move my hips, I have to get this out, I have to shake my hands. And just dancing, just a dance self-practice, a daily practice of put on anything. Just, you could go on to any one of your music platforms and put in West African dance music and just one song. And if you close your eyes, your hips will move, everything will move, your knees will move, and you'll forget about what was causing pain because you're just letting your body move its own self to and fro. And in the same way, sacred sexuality is about that rhythm and flow with yourself, with another person, with the flow of life. But it's just allowing that flow to completely fill your body. And so it's sort of backwards thinking in the sense of there's no logic, there's no sense, there's no safety net. Everything is switched into, I'm just going to let my root chakra, my womb chakra, all the power, everything that's low, everything in my belly and in my intuition, steer the ship. And so that's why it's silent, so that there's not as much pressure to interact with people or worry about how do I look. And I always encourage people just to close their eyes, hang out on their yoga mat. You've got your feet, feel your feet. And if your feet are on the yoga mat, you're okay. And then, of course, I'm always around in case people start to get wildly ecstatic. So I could just steer them into a nice, safe place and give them a nice corner.
Oh, I love that so much. And I have a background in physical fitness, and some of the things that I used to do was choreographed dance. I would do dance, and it was amazing. But there was also this part of me that just wanted to break free. But it was I was stuck in this structure, and so I started to offer and I kind of am doing what you're saying. That's kind of what I do too. Is I just put on music and I just let everyone dance however they want to, whatever they need to do, with very little instruction or direction. And it really is so powerful to be able to do that. But I have noticed that some people, it's very hard for them to do that because of woundings and whatever's happening, even just the ability to kind of shut off that brain, like you were saying, right? And come into that intuitive sense. So what advice can you give to someone who maybe is still holding on to that little bit of fear to really express themselves, especially in a group setting?
So one of the things that I do, one of the very first things I do when I'm doing that kind of an event is I say, okay, on the count of 3, we're going to make the loudest sound you possibly can. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. And people scream as loud as they can. But it's never all the way on the first one. It's not often all the way. And so I say, okay, that was an interesting start. So let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. And I don't let too much time go by. And then it's all right, I feel like there's still just a little something down there. So I want you to breathe as if you were breathing into your feet and pretend that your feet needed to scream. And then I want you to pull that scream up out of your body. So you just move their love and attention down to their feet. So they had to go through all their chakras to get there. And then whatever is happening there, because your feet are the furthest from your heart, so they do accumulate some shadowy pieces. And as it comes up, I always encourage them to hold it, like scream for as long, not as loud on the last one, but as long as you possibly can. And then at that point, you've really released so much emotion that you're now in your body. So I always get people to do that. And then I, of course, say, congratulations, you're halfway to the longest journey that you'll ever take, which is from your head to your heart. You got to your throat, you're halfway there, so let's breathe. And that's how I start the breath work. And if somebody is really just, the closing your eyes always helps, but you can also go up on the ball of your feet and then drop right on your heels. And all of a sudden you realize how heavy you are, how big you are, how your head just isn't that much of your body. There's a lot of body there. And, some people, and it's just because of the world that we live in, they need the guidance. I mean, we've been told it's time to go to recess, it's time to sit down, it's time to have lunch, it's time to do this. So sometimes I also will guide people and say, okay, let's move our hips. Let's see if we can move our hips. Anybody move their hips? Okay, let's just bounce. If that's in your practice, if that's in your mobility, let's just, give that. And so sometimes people just need like a little, the smallest instruction and the smallest permission. And then they're good, honestly.
I love that. And I think that more people should dance. I think everyone should dance. And it's funny because in 2022, that was when I was tuning into my guidance for the year. What the guidance came forward was to put on one song every day and dance to it. Like that was the simplest. And it really, I didn't do every day, but the moments that I did do it, it really shifted so much. And not only that, but it really also opens up the channel. So it opened up my channel to receive even more. And so I realized that I need that movement to really be able to receive and open and get into a better state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a more natural state.
Yeah, less in the head, more in the body. And I think so many of the priestess kind of energy, like that's a lot of it, is that sacred sexuality, that ability to move the body, that ability to really honor the body, is so profound. And so that kind of leads me into the next question, which is...
wait, I just want to say, just remember too that we're not built for sitting down. We're built for movement. I mean, everything, all 700 muscles are built for movement and procreation. Like there's nothing about this human design that says we should be sitting at a desk or even sitting in a chair or, not moving. Everything that we have, the lymphatic system is built strictly on that we're going to move. Our hormones are designed so that they are moved through our body. Everything is movement. So movement is without a doubt the key to all medicine, all intelligence.
Love that so much. And so that brings me into the next question, which is, when you think of the term womb oracle, what does that stir within you?
It certainly makes me think of the Oracle of Delphi in Greece, of course, because that's always going to come up with, the classic oracle. And what's interesting about that is that it was a cutout. It was actually, in the ground, but it was cut out to the oracle's, the Delphi shape. And so people wouldn't just come, they would come and lay in it. They would actually do what we would call now meditating, but, their work laying in it. So what I think of when I think of that is in the same way that we want to move our love and attention and bring our questions into the womb as if we were laying in our own womb or one that was held for us, that it's always there, it's always available. It's this intelligence, this part of us where really it's the creative force. It's where life comes through into us. So I think about how, of course, you would want to go back into the beginning. In the shamanic tradition, when we talk about change, we always talk about the birth cycle. So we talk about how water is the first part of change, which is what I was saying before. That's where the dreaming happens. That's where the beginning happens. That's where you just float. And you know you're in the water cycle if you just can't do anything. You literally can't do anything. You're just exhausted and tired, and you feel like you always have to lay down. You're in that water cycle because you're trying to rebirth the next step for yourself. You're trying to figure out what's the next dream that I need to birth into the world. And that moves forward into earth. When you're too big for the womb, you move into the birth cycle, the earth cycle, where you're going to be squeezed and there's no going back. And you'll be feeling the pressure. You'll be feeling, the why did I do this? What am I thinking? You get to think about all of those all the way into the ring of fire, which is that last moment where it's like, there is no going back. I'm committed, I'm exhausted, and I'm ready for the birth. And then the air is when you're actually born and you have that euphoric state. The dream is alive. I have birthed this new idea, plan, person, whatever it is, whatever you were dreaming, it is now birthed into the world. And so I always think of the womb as the beginning. It's sort of, this is where we go for the beginning. And it also makes me think about the origin of the word woman, because biologically you have man and you have woman. And so you have man, which we know as man structure, but the one that has the womb is the womb man. That's where it comes from, the one with the womb. And I'm not talking about gender identity because I fly the rainbow flag. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just strictly from an anatomy standpoint. The origin of woman is we have a man and we have this creature who has a womb. So this is the womb man. So it's the one who has the womb, who's carrying the womb, who's carrying that, really vessel of creation. What is the beginning? Where do we birth? Where do we gestate? And how does that all start in a cycle over and over and over and over again?
And I feel like we are in such a period of transformation, and it can be extremely uncomfortable for people. So what advice do you have for people who are like feeling, like they're in that liminal space, they're in the water, and maybe they're holding on too tightly? How do you feel like they can move through it with more grace and ease?
Well, the first thing is to understand that we're, at this time, we're dissolving the patriarchy. The matriarchy is rising. The sacred masculine and sacred feminine are coming back into balance. We have the nodes of fate in Aries now. We're at the beginning of this 1,000-year cycle of creation, not manifestation, but creation. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that all of these waves and all these light codes and all the stuff that people are talking about, it doesn't matter if you believe in that or not. Like, this is hitting you. The solar storms, all of this stuff is hitting you because you're elemental. You are earth, fire, air, and water. You are the earth. All of these things are happening to the earth and you. So there is no logical way to get through it. You have to understand you're integrating all the light codes. You're integrating all of the information that's coming alive inside of you and in your DNA. You're rebuilding cellular tissue, because all of a sudden now you have more of an ability to do that. So people are being able to hear better than they could before. They can see things a little more differently. They can see through the veils. They can see ghosts and spirits and people, and their awareness, it's just their overall awareness is increasing, but it's happening just little by little so that people are not overwhelmed and then therefore shut down. So you're integrating, you have new senses, you have heightened senses. You need to rest. You need to treat yourself like a baby. You need to absolutely be drinking more water, taking more naps, and not doing anything that is, I don't want to say, it's not that it shouldn't be goal-oriented, but it shouldn't be achievement-oriented. Like, that is over. The patriarchal transactional business where it's like, well, you have to produce more, consume more, and keep going. I need more money because I need more stuff. I need a bigger house, so I need a better job. And a better job doesn't mean one that's fulfilling. It's one that brings me more money so I can buy this thing. It's all gone. And the people that are having the most trouble are the people that were the most successful in the patriarchy. You're like, but I worked hard. I was a good girl. I did what I was supposed to do. I got married. I had the kids. I did everything that they told me to do to be happy, but I'm not happy. So moving to the matriarchal function, it's more about community and it's more about beauty and happiness. So it's about producing things that will give you money less, resting more, spending more time in community. It's sort of the concept of if we all live on the block, then we can have 2 or 3 people take care of our kids while we go to the grocery store. We can have one person own a grass cutter and we all share it. We can have one person who fixes the house, does certain repairs, and then we have somebody else who is really good at making, Mexican hot chocolate. Like, it's just moving into the space of community. How can we all get there together? It's the opposite of every house needs to have 2 cars and a vacuum and all the stuff. And, oh no, we're just going to have a library. So when you need a nail gun, when you need something, you're just going to go to that materials library, which we have in our neighborhood, and just go check it out. And then bring it back when you're done. And then we'll have a guy or a girl or somebody there making sure that it runs properly and it's got gas in it and it's fine. So the struggle is really to shift your mind from what's going to give me money to what's going to give me pleasure. And it's the goddess energy. So you can just walk around saying, does that give me more pleasure? Now, if you're talking about laundry, I don't know that laundry gives me pleasure. I love doing laundry, but I will say I have great pleasure, like surprisingly a lot of pleasure around knowing that all the clothes are clean. My clothes, my kids' clothes, the towels. If that's all clean, I literally have a great deal of pleasure coursing through my body, like, because this feels good to me. I have the exact same reaction when I open up my refrigerator and it's full. Same, exactly the same. Look at all that. The watermelon's cut, the pineapple's cut, I got yogurt. This is amazing. I have 2 dozen eggs. Like, this is it. This is like high zenith pleasure in my book. So if you can start to take a nap, if you can check out of the racing, achieving, going type A hamster wheel, get some girlfriends, go out in nature, lay near a stream, do some skinny dipping, find 5 women and ask all of them what brings you great pleasure. Take all of those supplies out into the woods, maybe with bug spray, and then have a great day. You'll be shocked. All of a sudden, headaches are gone, shoulder feels better, low back feels better, everybody feels wiggly and happy. So that is a great place to start.
I love so much of what you said, and I'm like that with my bedding. Like, if all the bedding in the house is clean and everyone gets to lay down in clean sheets, I'm like, and then I want to take a nap in it. So I love the simple pleasures, and it's like reminding ourselves that, as there is friction and there are things that are happening, like reminding ourselves, what is one simple thing today that will bring me joy and pleasure? And that's been something I've been trying to be in a daily practice. Like, what is it that my body needs today? What's going to bring me the most joy and pleasure? And then just do that one simple thing. And then most of the time it leads to like multiple, because I'm in the zone. But even if I'm short on time or the kids need me or something like that, then it's like I can still do that one simple thing when I have the time to do it.
And you can ask them, like, if they're little kids, what makes you happy? And then keep going until it's something that's not electronics. It's not, something that is, put a filter on it, but also involve the kids, involve everybody. Like, what would make you really happy? Inevitably, it's like spending time with you, going to get ice cream, making food together, going somewhere to pick berries. It's something like it's so simple, but a lot of times kids are the best people to ask. What makes you happy? Because they can't really distinguish between joy and pleasure and happy and whatever like that. Usually they're just good with happy. And they're also surprised somebody asked them, me? You want to know what makes me happy? Great. For me, joy is not enough, or self-care, like the word self-care, it's not enough. I think of self-care as like brushing my teeth and, remembering to put clothes on before I leave the house. It is so different than what other people think about as self-care. And my friend was like, it just doesn't work for you. Like that vibration doesn't work for you. You need to use the word pleasure. And as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to take myself into the shower and think about that right now.
Right? Oh, yes. I love it. I love that so much. And yeah, and my little kids, they're often so simple, like you said. It's like, we just want to play with you, mommy. So we'll go do an activity together, and
Great.
it's just amazing. It's so simple.
Yeah.
So, um, so we kind of discussed this a little bit already, but why do you feel the power of the womb oracle is rising?
I mean, I think it's because it's the matriarchy. It's like the place there. There's a physical womb, and then there is the concept of the temple, and the female temple. We're built differently than men. I always love the fact that my mom would quote Mr. Rogers and say, um, boys are fancy on the outside, girls are fancy on the inside. But I love that women really hold the sacred feminine inside their body. They carry it around in the most protective place that they have, which is between their hip bones. There's no way anything is going to hurt that. It's just in such an interesting place. It's so easy to protect. It's so easy to keep it all to yourself. It's so tied to the moon cycles. It's so tied to the water cycles and the sacred waters of the earth. And I think it's just time. I mean, it's the rise of the matriarchy. It's the rise of Aquarius. It's sort of, the pendulum has gone so far one way that it has to come back. And I feel that most assuredly, this whole idea of what makes us happy got so skewed into work and money and transactionality that it couldn't sustain itself. Like, having a garden, creating a garden has always been awesome. That's always been a great way to spend a day. That's always been getting into the dirt and watching the flowers grow and growing food forever. Like 9 to 5, sitting at a desk, making something called money, which is so vague and weird and changes for every country. It's worth different things, different people and different titles and all that stuff. That is so heady and so made up. There is nothing natural about it at all. Like accomplishing a goal, sure. Building a house, yes, we have to do that. But this whole concept of jobs, money, transaction, and things is really something that was always going to break. And it's time for it to break now. So here we are, all of the light workers, all men and women too, because we need the sacred masculine as much as we need the sacred feminine. It's just that it's coming back in a balance. So dissolving the patriarchy does not mean exiling all men to a different planet. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with dissolving this concept of colonization and dissolving this idea of domesticating people into these ideas that are not natural and they're broken. No child would ever grow up in the woods and say, I can't wait to put on a suit and go to work. They would never say that. So what we're moving to be honest, is just remembering how to be happy together and how to be in community together, men and women and the planet and the animals and all the elementals. We're just remembering it because without that memory, without that waking up, the planet's going to die. Like, we're going to kill ourselves and the planet. So I think it was just inevitable. And we just get lucky enough to be the people that are waking up first and helping other people wake up and say, hey, instead of, climbing the corporate ladder, why don't you come down to the lake and let's go skinny dipping and talk about it. And, we've got some good plant medicine. We're going to help you to remember who you are and what's really activating in you. And we're also going to throw away your calendar. We're going to move to a galactic calendar. So every single day has its own medicine. And then one day we're going to have a big party because it's the day out of time. It would be mind-blowing if we were all on the galactic calendar, 13 moons instead of 12 months, if we were celebrating time as art and moving into the concept that every day is different and every day has its own individual spiral in big spirals and seasons and years. It'd be delirious. But I'm sure that that's where we're going because that is the natural way. We're just remembering all of it.
Oh, there's so much goodness right there. And I could see literally we have the calendars with the little squares, but each one was like moving as you were talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
It was so cool.
Oh, yeah. That's the way where every day has its own name. In the shamanic calendar, the galactic calendar, every day has its own name. It has its own individual name and vibration. And
through Sunday,
that's the running joke. The running joke is that the Europeans, they weren't creative enough to come up with anything other than 7 names, so they just repeated them over and over and over again. It's a bad joke. I don't support it, but it's a little bit funny. But even if you just explained that to people and said, imagine that every day had its own name and that it had its own place in the seasons and it had its own place in the sky, and that you would honor one whole solar cycle and divide it into all these other ways to think about it. Even if you just got people thinking about the calendar's 13 moons instead of 12 months, I think that that's a great place to start.
Oh, yeah. And just think of all the people who are like, they hate Mondays. Like every Monday they hate. Like,
yeah.
If you could think of it differently, it would change so much in their life.
Well, would you hate Monday if it was another day that you get to help your neighbor build a house or help somebody cultivate their garden or be the one that watches the kids or be the one who goes to the grocery store? I mean, if you take away the 7 days of the week, all of a sudden you're living the way that nature lives, which is just, what do I need today? It's not, I have to get to work today. I'm grumpy about that because I'm living in a broken system and supporting it and trying to be happy in it. Like, it wouldn't even occur to you because your whole life is built on pleasure. And so you wouldn't even know if it was Monday or Tuesday. You'd be like, oh, there's a full moon coming up. Let's gather corn. Let's all get together. Let's have cacao. Let's have plant medicine together. Let's, get into circle. It would be completely different. It would be a celebration instead of a disappointment.
And I do feel like that is where we are shifting slowly but steadily, that we are shifting more and more into that. And something else you said about, this exchange and this money aspect. And I just had this conversation with my mom this morning. It's like my daughter said, you should be an artist and sell all your artwork. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I said, because if I attach money to it, then it's one more thing that I am doing to create something out of it, when really I just am doing it because it makes me happy. And right. So when you said that, I'm like, of course, and I look back at a lot of my hobbies over the years, like jewelry making and soap making and making perfumes, like all of that was a hobby that I turned into a business. And then I lost my passion for it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to trade it for income. And I'm like, nope, I got to stop doing that because it's not serving me. It doesn't feel in alignment anymore. So there's certain things that I keep for myself, like my art, that's just for the sheer pleasure of creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're creating it based on love. You're not creating it to make money. It's making money, because my kids are artists too. 2 of my kids are artists, and making art for the public is a way to make money. But when they make things that they love, it's completely different. And all of a sudden, it's animated, it's alive, and they have the ability to move in between those 2 worlds. because they are not going to be able, they cannot conform into any kind of a 9 to 5. So it's really, I'm trying to teach them now, like, there's art you make for the world to sell, and then there's art that you make for yourself. And that's what builds and keeps that passion going. And it's great to watch them play in between those two worlds. And it's a big difference. It is.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the next question that I have for you, because when I was feeling into this summit, it's really about gathering and sharing our stories. And, you know, as we do that, we're empowering each other to dream bigger, right? And to help one another through the birth canal as we are in this creative phase. So what do you believe is actually really possible when we gather like this to share our stories?
I mean, I think that what you do is it's like blowing wind to someone's sails. You know, you allow them to think about a dream beyond the horizon. I think right now, because we are in this, we're in this time of massive creation. So we're getting all of this energy, we're getting all of this abundance in order to create, and it's overwhelming. We're not ready for it because we were too worried about all the money stuff, and all the conditional happiness and a lot of fear. You know, there's just a lot of fear, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of trauma, there's more than enough distractions, which is terrible, but you know, it's sort of like it's the distractions that are keeping us depressed and fatigued and unable to create. So anything that we create is a miracle at this point. But the idea is to create beyond the horizon. This is a moment. If you were going to create something for the next 1,000 years, what would you create? This was what the meditation I did last week with my dragon meditation group. It was not about, well, I need a little this or a little that. It was like bigger, 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 bigger. So I was dreaming into, I want to be with these women in my group for all future lifetimes, this lifetime and all future lifetimes. And they were like, whoa, okay. I said, yeah, big. So when we get together, we normalize all the things that we were not allowed to say before. So we normalize sacred sexuality, we normalize plant medicine, we normalize women getting together. And when women get together, they lose their fear. When you get sacred women together who are not colonized, they're not in competition with each other, and like the snarky, smarmy, you know, what is she wearing and what is she doing that? Filter those people out. But when you get to the people who are not afraid to support each other, when you get into those circles, all of a sudden the fear really drops away, and now you can have honest conversations. I'm not happy. I'm, you know, married to a doctor, wearing a diamond, living in a big house, and I'm not happy. Like all of a sudden you can have honest conversations, and being allowed and held and in that circle of wombs and grace and compassion, it changes you and it dissolves the fear. And when you dissolve the fear, you can get back to the love. You can get out of your head, back into your heart. And then you could say, well, what do you want? Well, I want to write a book. I always wanted to write a book. Great. You have the means, you have the resources, you have everything. Let's help you write that book. Let's help you dream into what would that book be, what kind of stories would be in that book, things like that. So I think when you get sacred women together, the women who are interested in supporting each other and supporting the creative process, and you'll know them right away, the ones that are colonized versus non-colonized, the people who are really waving the flag at the patriarchy versus the ones who are saying, yeah, I'm going with the happiness camp. I'm headed to happy pleasure camp. So I'll see you guys later. You dream bigger because you feel the support. You don't feel alone. Isolation is part of the patriarchy. You're isolated. You can't possibly do everything that a woman is expected to do. Have kids, raise kids, keep the house, keep a job, keep everything going, make travel plans. Like it's not possible. but this is the construct that's breaking. So as soon as you get women together and not isolated, and they start vibing and they start coming together, then you see, oh, I felt bad about that too, or I had that same experience and I'm afraid to get divorced because I never had a job. All of a sudden you hear these really tender, really poignant moments, and you hug each other and you hold each other and you say, I know, I'm sure that that's really scary, and I'm here to be with you if you still want to do it anyway. It all of a sudden feels like anything is possible when you're coming together in that group. And that is really what's changing, is that you're finding that community, the unity, the coming together, the trust is being rebuilt on a very personal level, a one-to-one level. And as that happens, it looks very attractive to people who are still scared and still trying to get out of their confines. So when you hear stories about, oh yeah, I was in a cube for, I don't even know how long I worked in a cube, from 23 for 12 years. And then I quit my job and became a medical massage therapist. People are like, what? Are you kidding? I'm like, well, my mom died of cancer. And I was thinking, yeah, I could see where the cube would definitely kill me, would give me cancer. She didn't work at a cube, but she certainly was under a lot of stress to be everything. So I think it emboldens us. I think it gives us courage. And I think it gives us the one thing that was actually missing, which is just that unconditional support. When you find women that support each other, those are the people doing the big stuff, making the big changes. And it doesn't take 100 women. It usually takes like 2 or 3 women who are really gonna, like, in the boat together, so to speak. Like, yeah, let's head out to the horizon. Let's do it. And you can feel those women. And the key is, we have the internet, we have networking, we have like every tool. Get your group, find your people, like, get them at 2 or 3. And then you'll be surprised, because things feel easier and easier and easier, because you were allowed to express yourself, allowed to express your fear, allowed to express your experiences, and you can start to process all of this out of your body, so you can fill it back in with whatever dream you were always afraid to say out loud, because it never felt like it was ever going to happen.
Yes, that's amazing and beautiful. And I, have been gathering women for years. And this last year, it's like I found my tribe. It's like that connection. And I think also part of it is because I'm also deconditioning myself. And the more that I'm doing that, and the more I'm following my intuition and my heart, the more I'm calling in those people that, I feel safe enough with, and they feel safe with me to really express. And so, yeah, my groups usually are like 8 people. And I love the small intimacy of that, because we don't feel overwhelmed. It's just like, this is us. And I have a core group that come every month, maybe even twice a month. And we get to share our stories. We laugh, we cry together. We talk about our past lives. We talk about what we want for the future. Like, there's just so much that can happen when we gather. So yeah, I definitely feel so much of that. And how you said in your group, how you said, in the future, in the next 1,000 years, I want us to meet again. Like, I literally saw this. We've already done that too. And that's why we're here now. So like, our ancient future selves are working harmoniously as we are calling each other back. And like you said, remembering that connection. So I just love that.
And then we really don't, I am the worst when it comes to small talk. Like, I can't have small talk. It's like all of a sudden the genie's out of the bottle, and that's kind of how you've already crossed the bridge. If all of a sudden you can't go to parties anymore, if you can't have not stupid, but if you can't have petty conversations, if you just can't, like, it's like, that's practically going to make you nauseous. You're like, yeah, I don't even know where to start. How are you? I'm like, How is anybody? We've got a 1,000-year cycle that we're working with. We've got all this creation to do, and then we just had that full moon, and then we had the 777 portal. That was insane. I think I'm still trying to catch up on my sleep. How are you handling it? And they're like, I just meant, are you joining the PTO committee? And I'm like, oh, no, I already did that last year. I'm not going to do it this year. Like, it's just, and there's nothing wrong with PTO. Like, I was totally the PTO mom for 12 years. All I'm saying is that if all of a sudden your life feels too small, it's okay, because people are waking up fast, 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 fast. That's okay. But immediately start finding women, start looking for drumming circles and full moon circles, and look for just groups, gatherings, retreats, whatever.
And
whatever
if you
it is.
Find them, make your own. That was me.
100%.
I couldn't find it, what I was looking for, because I was supposed to create it.
100%. Oh my God.
Why this womb oracle summit came out, because there was this part of me, this longing, this needing to connect deeper and talk, because I'm a Scorpio. I do not do small talk. I tried to be a bartender for like 8 months, and I couldn't even do it, because I'm like, oh my God, just stab me. Like, I can't do small talk. I can't. I need to go in the depths right away, and I'm gonna take you with me. So this whole summit was created out of this need, this longing, this desire, this inner knowing to, gather and talk about this stuff, because it lights me up, and I know it's helping so many people who are watching this to get ideas, be inspired, find their own inner wisdom, create those groups that they want to create, or write that book that they want to write. Like, it initiates them almost in a way, just these conversations. It's like, oh yeah,
it does.
I can give myself permission to go do whatever the heck I want.
and that's probably is the most important thing, is to trust yourself. Like, you got this message to create this summit, and you trusted it. You didn't say, oh, give that message to somebody else, or I don't really want to do it, or anything like that. You trusted, okay, I'm supposed to do the summit, I'm going to do the summit. And so part of that womb medicine is to trust yourself. In other words, to look inside and say, what do I need for pleasure? You don't want to be looking at somebody else's blog and say, oh, well, that created pleasure for them, therefore it will create pleasure for me. No. Being part of this concept of the womb oracle, it's about diving into your own womb. It's about trusting that if you think you need to leave the marriage, leave the marriage. Stop working it out and have a moment of honesty. If you need to leave the job, leave the job. If you need to pull up stakes and move to the West Coast, do that. Like, there's a reason. And I feel like one of the ways that we're really seeing that rise of the womb oracle is because this is natural. It is natural to go inside yourself, to go inside your inner knowing, to trust yourself more than anyone else. Anyone else. I firmly believe you should trust yourself over everyone else. It doesn't forget the data and the books and whatever like that. Shamanic path is all about the path of direct revelation, and therefore you have to believe and trust the messages that you get in your journeys, in nature, in numbers, in the moon, in the clouds, everywhere. Everything is talking to you. Everything is trying to get your attention. And if you're starting to take that and say, oh, I'm going to go talk to my friends about that, or I'm going to shop that around my little committee, that's going to get watered down, because the message wasn't for them, it was for you. So part of this is to say, trust yourself. Go in yourself. You know what's making you sick, you know what you need to do, and you know what you need to change. And the courage comes from binding together with other people and saying, let's all walk through that change together.
I love it. I'm such a visual person, so I literally was seeing the whole world, arm in arm, chain linking, connecting and walking through, because that's what we're doing. We're literally doing that. And I just see this golden sunrise as we're all walking into that amazing golden light.
Well, gold is the energy that's here right now to create. It's literally gold. It's not yellow, it's not butterscotch, it's not butter. It's gold. It's actual, if you can imagine gold sparkles raining down with light codes and sacred geometry. This is physically what's happening. It's on a vibration you can't see with your eyes, but it's happening, but it's absolutely gold. So if you create from the highest concept of wealth, abundance, freedom, which are all the same thing. Whenever you're thinking, what do I want to create? You want to make sure you're creating it in that space. Wealth, abundance, and freedom. And as soon as you get there, you get to the center of your own triangle that creates all of those, just move forward. You're where you're supposed to be.
I love that so much. So as this airs, you are going to be falling on day 26 or the 26th. And so that's actually when Lionsgate, the portal, starts to open.
Yep.
So as we're talking about all these amazing golden codes, is there any message, if you could feel into that energy, is there a message that you want to give all of the viewers?
Imagine that whatever biggest dream that you have that was so big that you're afraid to share it with people because it's ridiculously big, imagine that it happened yesterday. And wake up with it already behind you, all the struggles and all the movement and everything that you had to grow to make that happen. Imagine that it happened yesterday so that you can align your vibration to it being complete and done, and move forward from there. Because you're already in that vibration, you wake up into it, you'll attract it faster and faster and faster, and hold it. Just hold it like a golden rod inside of you. But make sure it's the biggest dream, so big that you're afraid to say it out loud. Move forward with that like it happened yesterday.
Oh, I love that. I could feel that. Like my heart's like
Yeah.
the wings in my heart is amazing.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love that so much.
That's the easiest way to get things to happen.
Yeah.
You just really get clear on what it is, and then pretend it happened yesterday, and then wake up that it's already done, and so it is.
Oh. So my next question, and I have like a little bonus question here. So are there any places in the world that help you connect deeper with the womb as a portal way of creation?
I mean, you can go anywhere in your mind because of quantum physics. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is focus on your own physical body and use your own womb space, because if you go outside, it supports the idea that there's something outside that needs to happen in order for you to transcend. And what's more important is for you to drop into your own womb space and see if there's any pollution in there. Is it working on purifying your womb space is job one. Step one, meditate on your womb. Are there other people in there? Are there beliefs in there? Is anything that I said triggering? If I say patriarchy, does your womb go freaking out because there's laws that, affect your womb, and there's ancestral trauma? There's probably maybe even, trauma in your own life. And, there's plenty of women who are having an experience of unwanted sex at some time in their life. That can be in your womb, focusing on working there. And you are the earth. So there's nowhere on earth better than your earth, your body. So if you purify your body, you can meditate on the frequency of anywhere and journey there, either on planet or off planet. But it's really about you. That's where you start. And then all of a sudden, you become the vehicle that takes you wherever you want to go, anywhere you can imagine.
And places you can't even imagine sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
What's this purple
life?
Planet?
I don't remember. Wait, it's coming back to me. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much because I have grid workers who are in this summit, and everybody has a different perspective. And when I have asked that question, usually everyone gives me location, and
Uluru. Yeah,
yeah,
there's like
yeah, like
there's
someplace they've
classic,
been.
but
So,
it's you have to help yourself to help the earth. And this whole idea, like I know world-class grid workers and they're doing great work and there's no doubt that that needs to happen. They've also done a lot of inner work, a lot of inner work. Um, but the truth is, if you're running around the world gridding different places and you have not purified yourself, you're taking your own little piece of toxic earth around to all these places. The earth is not appreciating that. Like it's far more important to do your own work and to be responsible and to be honest. Be honest about what is really going on in there. Are you running away from your problems? Is this a pattern for you? Are you thinking, great, I'm going to be a hippie because you think that somehow other people are supposed to take care of you and that responsibility is for other people? I mean, look deep inside and have some honest conversations and do a lot of emotional work. Just see what triggers you, see if that's ready to leave your body. Really focus on yourself first and then move your little purified self all over, and then things will happen faster and synchronicities will happen faster, coincidences, things like that. So yeah, there's certainly places on the earth, but bring a clean vessel, please, is I'm sure what the earth would say if she could have a little message to share with everyone.
and I so appreciate you saying that because that's been my journey. There's been all these places that I want to go as like a grid worker, but I'm still working on my own wounding, and I have to be honest about that. And so I know that when it is right, it will
Mhm.
happen, but I'm not going to force it. And I have to continuously, work on myself and work on my body. And like you said, we are one with the earth. And so like just trusting that I can do all my work right now with my kids playing upstairs, and
Mhm.
that's okay where I'm at. And when it's time to move, then that calling will come. So
Mhm.
I really appreciate that because we all have so much work to do. There's always more layers to uncover.
Oh
um
my God. Yeah,
yeah, so
so
many.
much.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, we have ours, we have our ancestors, we have the collective consciousness. Like there's job security in this work. Like billions of people. And the more that we are emotionally intelligent, the more mature we are in facing and embracing our own shadow and our own fears, and that we are honest with what we need to work on, the easier all of the changes that need to happen will happen. And it is, I think, an important lesson for people to understand. They say when we talk about like maiden to mother work, the midlife split and things like that, it's the maiden who is the fantasy. Like the fantasy is, I'm going to grid the earth. Like I'm going to go around and I'm going to get special crystals from special people and put them in special places. But it's really the mother, which is maiden moves to the mother. It's the mother who says, okay, but do your own work first and make sure that you're clean, the crystals are clean, and you're going there with, a heart full of gold, and that you're not posting it on Instagram and you're not saying, look at where I went and look at me in my perfect temple wear in Bali surrounded by red roses and chanting. Like, okay, but I've been around you. You're a nightmare. Like you are literally addicted to social media. I've been around you. I'm friends with you and I love you, but if nobody knew that that happened, you wouldn't have gone. If there was no accolade, if there was no social benefit, you wouldn't be there. It's the people that are doing the work are not posting about it. And I know them too. And, again, dissolving the patriarchy, rise of the matriarchy. We're getting more mature, but I just kind of shake my head as a mother, somebody who's in her mother phase of life and really at the tail end of midlife. Fine, go do that. but don't think that you're making some big difference as much as the people who are adopting kids out of alcoholic homes, getting kids to school who are hungry and feeding them, taking care of stray animals, just taking care of, why don't you grid your backyard for God's sake, or grid the river down from you, or why don't you take care of the land you live on, or the Native Americans who died on that land. You don't need to be going around everywhere. Take care of your own world first, and then move out. It'll move out like a web, I assure you. It
Yeah,
will. The energy will get there.
that's the exact messaging that I've been getting is it's take care of this land, get to know the natives that still dwell here, like in the spirit realm, to really work with those energies. Because I'm right next to the Iowa River, like literally it's like 2 blocks down. And so I've been doing, work through that as well. And that's my message. It's like, you don't need to go anywhere else. It's right here. Focus on this. There's new messaging coming through. There's a lot of clearing that needs to happen. So I appreciate you saying that. That's literally the same messaging I'm getting.
And for God's sake, we have enough people in Bali and in Uluru and at all the sacred sites and all of that stuff. Give me a break. Like, they've been tramped over well enough. Thank you very much. Like, it's time to take care of the smaller bits. Really, the inner cities. You want to do God's work, you want to do Mother Earth work, you want to do real work, go grid the river in the inner city and all that pollution and all that industrialization and all that horror. I mean, there's no glamour in it, but it needs to be done. Somebody needs to go and energetically clean that up.
And you can also clean it up physically too, pick up the trash. That's one of the things I do with my kids. We're like, we're going to the river after the snow melts. We're like, it's time to go to the river. Here's your garbage sack.
Every day. I walk into the woods every day. I pick up garbage every day. Literally every day. Yeah. And it feels good. It's its own reward. Truly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And the last question I want to ask is, what are you working on currently, and how can people connect with your awesomeness?
Well, I got a message from Mother Mary, Jesus's mom, who said it's time to help people that are just waking up and they don't really have a lot of money or a lot of means and can't go on retreats and stuff like that. So at this very moment, I am putting the finishing touches, and it will be ready by the 26th. It's 100% sure. But what I'm doing is, it's called group calls. So think about group online coaching with shared wisdom. So coming together in a circle, and in the shamanic world, we don't teach. It's not like one person is in the front and then there's a lecture room. It's not a classroom setup. It's a circle, and everyone puts their wisdom into the circle, usually into a fire. And so the concept is, I have different topics that are common topics. I'm sure everybody wants to find their dragon. I have a dragon meditation and a guide. But what are the Akashic records, intro to shamanism, but also, how do I set emotional boundaries? How do I say no? How do I get better sleep? How do I access muscle testing so I know what my body wants to eat, because I'm a little fritzed out on my head. So the group calls are one topic for 1 hour. And everybody comes in. It's $27 a person. You can come in, you can participate, or you can just listen in. They're not recorded. Everybody's going to have a chance to share. Not ever going to be recorded. But it's where I go through a topic. I think I'm up to 26 topics, and they're going to be recurring. So I know there's a lot of channeling happening over this, because it's all stuff that we need. It's all things that I've coached people on for years. And, coaching with me is $225 for 90 minutes. This is $27 for an hour. And I'm saying the same stuff. And you can hear other people chime in what we were talking about and say, me too, I had that experience, or I'm also struggling with that. And so it gives you a chance to get some of that wisdom at a price that you can afford, and on a rotating basis of all the common questions and challenges that I've helped people work through. Then if they're from that group, if people want to do a deep dive, I'm doing a cohort, so it'll be a 3-week coaching session with whatever subgroup wants to come. So that will be $225 per person, but it's 3 weeks of intensive coaching, daily support, and one phone call, one Zoom call per week for that smaller group. So that gives people a chance to get a breadth of this subject and a depth of that subject. And it's going to be launched, it'll be before the 26th, so that when this drops, people can go see it. But it's called Group Calls. It's right on the front of my website. And the ideas just keep coming. And if people can't make the call, it's going to be on Thursdays. So it's going to be Thursdays. I'm going to have 2 or 3 different times so that it could be different time zones and international, things like that. And if people really can't make it, then they can get 4 people together and pay me the $250. And anything that I have in my group calls topic list, I will bring that to your group, your book club, your retreat, your workshop, whatever, in person or on Zoom. These are the things that I can talk about forever. Here's my list, and here's a description. But yeah, group calls is my jam. This is where I'm putting all of my love and attention and letting everybody know. And, you know, obviously, if there's a question that somebody has, I'm happy to make that a call as well.
I love that so much. It feels so good. And, you know, it is that community and that ability to have, you know, share. And again, it's not just a leader, right? Everybody has their own wisdom. And that's what I love about group stuff, because you get those little pings from every single person that's there. Like you're weaving together, and it's just it's magic. It's magic.
It is. And it's empowering, because then you feel like I'm not alone. You lose that isolation the moment that you hear somebody else say that they're going through exactly what you're going through, but you were too afraid to say it. It's pure magic.
I just want to say, like, thank you so much for joining me and sharing all of your amazing wisdom. I love you. And one day I will meet you and speak to you in real life.
Oh, yes, that's definitely going to happen. Well, yeah. And I'm manifesting my whole thing is I want to start having yearly retreats. So I want to do Sedona one year, and then the next year Honors Haven. And I've got two different places lined up, but I want to do retreats for 25 people to 50, and then eventually to 100 people once a year. So I'm going to need help on that. If you want to come be part of that, because I've had that vision for a while. So I have a feeling that as my kids are working their way through college, that's probably going to explode a lot faster than I think. So yeah, that is coming. The Atlantis and Friends retreat is going to be happening very, very soon. And then we'll do smaller ones in Oaxaca, Mexico, because I have a place in Oaxaca for a house for 10 people with all meals included, and right in the city and right by the old churches and temples and brick and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be doing small groups down there as well.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. Yes, to all the retreats. I'm also being called towards that. So I just want to say thank you so much again. And I think you're amazing. And make sure you guys that are watching, check out her website. I have it listed below, and it will be in the email. Make sure you reach out to her if you have extra questions and if you want to work with her for sure. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for the next summit.
Yay, thanks Athena.
Yeah.